think we should move faster to establish the regulatory regime so that we all work with a level of certainty about what are the rules of the game. I think the profession itself is old enough, inverted commas. If I look around, lots of bald heads and so on, and lots of young people as well. So we want the young people to grow up within an environment where the ethics of the profession is fairly clearly defined. On the question of capacity, one of the challenges with many professions, and this is an accusation, for example, that's lodged against accountants, engineers, and so on in South Africa, is that like professions about 150 to 200 years ago in the early industrializing nations, professions tend to be closed shop guilds. They set very high barriers for people to get into those professions. In the South African context, I think we need to do some creative thinking about how do we allow more and easier entry. And of course, many of you are already thinking, before I finish my sentence, this guy is talking about dropping standards. I think there's many ways of managing standards, and we've all been around the block, and at the same time ensure that we don't discourage young people from attempting to get into a profession. And perhaps it's time during your 2 days here to reflect upon whether we give enough of a helping hand to young professionals, particularly black professionals, to make their way into some of these areas of scarce skills. Linked to that is where, when and how, and through which institutions can we multiply far more significantly the production of forensic capability. At least there's now universities offering master's courses, I believe, and so on. But clearly, we need to use, if you like, the Chinese approach, which is to say, we need 10,000 accountants in 3 years' time, so let's put 20,000 into the mill, and they get them, right? In South Africa, we tend to be far more modest and far too conservative in terms of managing this. I'm not sure whether it's because of the protective element or because we're just not visionary enough in terms of the way we need to manage things. So that's an area for you to also think about and look at constructively so that we can work together in that area. on the question of the scorecard, that's a tough area because I'm sure you already know what your individual scorecards are in your own company environments, and I'm sure much of that is revenue related. So revenue related stuff is important, but from a public sector point of view, we've got to ask the question whether the profession is making an impact upon what shall we call it, the ethical standards in our society, and whether we are influencing the right kind or the development of the right kind of behavior, both in the public and in the private sector adequately. Coming, if you like, after the fact and uncovering the dirt, so to speak, is something that's necessary and important, but equally, you have to, in a sense, engage in paradoxical activity, which is you need to decrease the number of clients you're going to get at some stage. Of course, we'll never run out of clients, so that you can be assured of, right? But you've got to make an effort to say, how do we influence society on some of the questions that I've raised in my earlier comments? And so a proactive role in a social context, in a business context, because there are very few voices in your profession that stand up loud and clear on ethical questions. Very few, if any. Right? Where does one read in any publication, any professional standing up and talking in favor of integrity and ethics, either in the profession or more broadly in society? And that's a challenge that leaders in your profession certainly need to look at a lot more carefully. So I hope I've kept you awake this morning so that you're prepared for the next session. Thank you.